heart of every man craves a great adventure, but life doesn't usually feel that way. Jesus speaks of narrow gates and wide roads, but the masculine journey is filled with many twists and turns. So how do we keep from losing heart while trying to find the good way when life feels more like a losing battle than something worth dying for? Grab your gear and come on a quest with your band of brothers who will serve as the guides in what we call the masculine journey. The masculine journey starts here now.
Welcome to the Masculine Journey. We are really glad to have you with us today, and I'm personally glad to be in studio today. I know, Robbie, you might not be as happy that I'm in studio today, but it seems like forever, and it's only been a couple weeks.
It is so good, and talk about a studio full. You couldn't be more excited about this show. We never had this kind of group.
Oh, we have a huge group in here, and I don't know how many of them will be on the radio. We're still trying to talk a couple of them, Eli, into being on the radio with us, but not sure that he wants to do that. But we have some new friends and a much older friend that's back with us, and Vinny. Vinny, it's great to have you back with us. We've missed you.
Well, I think it's been, I've missed you guys too.
It is so good to see you, Vinny. It's been a long time, and with us today we have Bill. Bill, thank you for coming in, and you're with the New Life program.
Yes.
And you were at your first boot camp just a few weeks back, about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
Right? And so you've been in the New Life program in Winston-Salem for how long?
Since January.
January. Okay, so you should be coming up for graduation from that program sometime in the fall or winter.
Yeah, October.
Okay.
November, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so right in there.
Yeah.
So it's getting close. And then also we have Samuel, which is not me. Well, I am Samuel, but I go by Sam. And we have Samuel with us, who's at the Winston-Salem Rescue Mission in their Beginning Life program, or what's it called?
It's the Life Builders program.
Life Builders. Thank you. I never get that one right. But the Life Builders
That's
program.
because you're a builder.
I am a builder. That's true. That's kind of sad. That is very sad, actually.
You're in the House Builders program.
I'm in the House Builders program, but I can't really get that one correct. But Samuel, you went to your first boot camp this last spring as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Last fall. No, it's spring.
Spring.
Just
Robbie?
checking you.
All right, I'm about ready to leave, Robbie. And then we have some other people in studio today. We have Andy and Gaither and Jim, not the Jims that you're aware of, another Jim, a friend of Vinny's, Jim.
They're springing up all over.
And then Eli. And then, of course, Howard. Hi, Howard. Glad to have you with us today, Howard. But we're going to go ahead and get to our first clip. We're talking about the topic of hearing from God. Now, Robbie, this was a topic that was on your heart when you asked about it the other day. And so can you kind of help understand why you wanted to talk a little bit about that topic?
Yeah, I think through faith, sort of the breath of faith is prayer. And at boot camp is just a unique opportunity. I think that men get to not just have a one-way communication with God, prayer, in other words, speaking to him, but actually a chance to listen and get a response. And then it even becomes an intimate conversation at some point in time where you begin to understand certain things about yourself in hearing from God that doesn't happen and when it happens, however that happens in your life, it's just a remarkable part of the journey.
It is, and this first clip is from a movie called Bruce Almighty. And in this clip, Bruce meets God, played by Morgan Freeman, for the first time, and he really doesn't know who it is. And so Morgan Freeman's talking to him, God's talking to him about a recent interchange Bruce had with God.
Yeah, Bruce was having one of those one-way communications.
One-way communication. Yeah. He didn't know that God was listening. And so we'll kind of pick it up and go from there and listen to how this goes on between God and Bruce.
This last entry was a little disturbing. The gloves are off, God. God has taken my bird and my bush. God is a mean kid with a magnifying glass. Smite me, O mighty smiter. Now, I'm not much for blaspheming, but that last one made me laugh.
Are you spying on me? Who are you?
I'm the one. Huh? Creator of the heavens and the earth. Alpha and Omega.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Bruce, I'm God.
Bingo! Yahtzee! Is that your final answer? Our survey says God! Bing, 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 bing. Well, it was nice to meet you, God. Thank you for the Grand Canyon, and good luck with the apocalypse. Okay, how many fingers am I holding up?
Now, Bruce, thou shalt not tempt the Lord.
Hey, if you can't
God.
do it, man, that's cool.
3, 2, 4, 9, 6, 8, 1.
Okay. How many now?
7.
Oh,
You've been doing a lot of complaining about me, Bruce. And quite frankly, I'm tired of it.
Wait. Don't come near me. Seriously. When I'm backed into a corner, I'm like a wild animal. I don't want to hurt you, but I will out of instinct.
You haven't won a fight since grade 5, and that was against a girl.
Yeah, she was huge. She'd been held back.
And the sun was in your eyes. Oh, there you go. Anyway, I brought you here to offer you a job.
Job? What job?
My job. You think you can do it better, so here's your chance.
Robbie, there's a lot in that particular clip. But, I think the funny part was, you've heard it how many times and you still started laughing during that with Smiter, oh, smite me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, in that, God makes an offer to Bruce here saying, well, you think you can do the job, my job, so here it is. And as you watch that story, it plays out a little differently. But a lot of people try to take on that role of God in their own life when they don't feel like God is maybe listening, or they don't have that close relationship that they don't know they could have as close a relationship as he's wanting with them.
In my own testimony, the way God found me really was through reading the Bible, and I kept being Bruce Almighty, getting madder and madder and madder at him. I was mad because he smote Aaron's kids. Mm-hmm. He was a mighty smoter. And then I got even madder when he stoned Achan's kids. And then when I got in the book of Job, and I'm like, really, you're showing off to Satan and you're going to kill all his kids and take away his business and all his animals? And I was just getting madder and madder and madder. And almost like that scene, the reason why I laugh so hard is because God shows up at the end of the book of Job and says, okay, Robbie Almighty, if you got it all together and you know so much, just make it snow one time, or impress me, bring in the tide. And when you start to face that yourself, that, wow, there's certain things that I'm really not capable of doing.
Yeah, Samuel, I want to ask you a quick question. Now, at boot camp, we start talking about this topic of hearing from God and not knowing a whole lot of your story. Was that something that was somewhat new to you in your theology, or is that something you've kind of heard in the past but never really had an opportunity to go out and practice it like we did at boot camp?
That was actually my first time. I went through Vacation Bible School, but it was nothing like the retreat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot to try to take in when you go to a boot camp. It's like drinking from a fire hose, and God has a lot that He's trying to show us during that time, doesn't He?
Yeah, I was actually uncertain if I was even going to be able to come to the retreat, mm-hmm. but then God's faith brought me there and showed me a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and then He set you at the table next to Sean that first night, and so if He's going to do anything to you, He's putting you next to Sean, and Sean will get you talking.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, Sean's good at getting people to talk. Now, Bill, what about for you? Had that been something in some of your background that you'd really thought about, having just an intimate conversational relationship with God?
Yeah, it's been something I always wanted to have, mm-hmm. but just never really knew how to have one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not a manual that they give you, or at least I never got one when I became a Christian on, okay, now what? It's like all this build up to say the prayer, which salvation is amazing. It's an incredible gift, but then now what do I do? It's kind of hard to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it gets that whole idea of, the book is a Bible of examples. If you look at it that way, that, all these guys heard from God in the Bible, but it's not necessarily interpreted that way for us. Like you too could hear from God the way that David heard from God on, how to, take on your daily tasks.
Oh yeah, it's clear when David talks about just even in when he's going to battle. God will tell him, and this time I want you to circle around and do this, but this time I want you to wait until you hear this noise. There's a conversational intimacy in all aspects of David's life through Scripture. As he's kind of walked with God through that, and Abraham, all these other people, you look back at all those people, and they had that type of relationship with God. Even later on, when you get into the New Testament, Paul stopped on the road to Damascus, and the conversational relationship begins there as well. Now, Vinny, I know for you, that conversational intimacy has been a huge thing for you over this last several months, hasn't it?
Yeah, very big. I have found out in the last few months, well, first of all, everybody knows I'm an old coot, and I'm blind. And now I just lost my wife after 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. But prayer to me was always, pray for me, help help me with this, I'm a sinner, and all that. And now I found out what prayer really is. I miss my wife very much, and I can't wait until I can see her again. And it may sound odd to you, but I pray that when he does come for me, that she'll be there and I'll go right into her arms, because I miss her that much. You know, I tell God in my prayers, and I've always prayed, I tell him, you know, this is 2 wives and 2 sons. Back off now, please. How much more do you want from me? That's wrong. I'm realizing now that's wrong. It's when he's ready to free you and come to him, truly come to him with your requests and your prayer, is when you'll finally understand what God means. I have found out what God means in this last 3 months with tearful nights, very tearful nights. And it's not hard to forget a loved one and how to pray, but now I know what prayer really means, what it really means. That is our salvation. Pray, and he will help you.
No, Vinny, I know that we'll come back to this when we come back from break, but you've had a deep relationship with God for several years, and I'm sure that it's even become more intimate over the last few months as you kind of walked through this with him. I'd love to hear more from that, Anya. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk more with Samuel, got it right that time, and Bill, and about their experience of hearing from God at the boot camp. And we have a boot camp coming up, Robbie. When? November
9th through the 12th.
9th
It's
through
already
12th.
there. You can go register.
And we have people registering. Hi, this is Sam with Masculine Journey. I'm here with my son Eli. We're going to talk about ways that you can help support the ministry. One way, you can go to smile.amazon.com. There's information on our website there on how to do that.
Then you can go to facebook.com where you can click the donate button, or you can go to masculinejourneyradio.org. Once again, look for the donate button.
Or if you want to mail something in, mail it to P.O. Box 550, Kernersville, North Carolina, 27285.
Sam, this November's boot camp could literally change a lot of men's life. I talked to a lot of men. They're saying
They say they don't know what their place is in the grand scheme of things. They don't know how to behave as Christian men.
God designed us for freedom, and it's coming up at this boot camp.
It is. Go to masculinejourneyradio.org to register now.
Just $169 early bird pricing for 4 amazing days. Go to masculinejourneyradio.org. Register now.
Journey, we are glad that you're back with us, and we have been talking about this topic of hearing from God. And so in studio, a whole bunch of people, but sitting at the microphones is Vinny, Samuel, Bill, Robbie, and myself. And we're talking about this topic, and we had a clip last time in the last segment from Bruce Almighty. And this time we're going to get a clip we'll go to here in a quick second from Evan Almighty. Robbie, if you want to set that up a little bit about what they're going to be hearing in this clip.
Yeah, this is a really neat clip from my standpoint, because so many of us offer up prayers and we don't see the answer, how it's framed. And in this particular case, Evan's wife, who, if you've seen the movie Evan Almighty, he has asked, God asked him to build an ark, which, based on the rain this week, it might have been a good idea, Sam.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have
I
to.
was thinking it was time for go for wood, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, you know, she has run away, and she is at a diner, and Morgan waits on her, but the funny thing is his name tag says Al Almighty. You can't see it, but it's so funny. It's like
Almighty.
Almighty. and he approaches her, but he is in this discussion with her. He's reminding her of what she actually prayed for. And if you hadn't seen the movie, you would miss it, because she had been praying that their family would grow closer. And God is now explaining how the circumstances have something to do with what God has in mind. And so often he's doing that in our lives, is bringing, us closer through our prayers. And it's pretty cool when he shows up to show us what he was actually doing.
Oh, excuse me. Can I get a refill, please?
Coming right up. Excuse me. Are you all right?
Yeah. No. It's a long story.
Well, I like stories. I'm considered a bit of a storyteller myself.
My husband, have you heard of New York's Noah?
The guy who's building the ark.
That's him.
I love that story. Knowing the ark. You know, a lot of people miss the point of that story. They think it's about God's wrath and anger. They love it when God gets angry.
What is the story about then, the Ark?
Well, I think it's a love story about believing in each other. You know, the animals showed up in pairs. They stood by each other, side by side, just like Noah and his family. Everybody entered the ark side by side.
But my husband says God told him to do it. What do you do with that?
Sounds like an opportunity. Let me ask you something. If someone prays for patience, you think God gives them patience? Or does he give them the opportunity to be patient? If they prayed for courage, does God give them courage, or does he give them opportunities to be courageous? If someone prayed for the family to be closer, do you think God zaps them with warm, fuzzy feelings? Or does he give them opportunities to love each other? Well, I gotta run. A lot of people to serve. Enjoy.
I really like the little things they have in those clips where it talks about I got a lot of people to serve. You know, he plays a waiter in the movie, but you know, that's not what he's talking about. Eli, thank you for joining us on the show. I wanted to talk a little bit about, there are times when we went to Covenant of Silences, and this was your second boot camp. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we go to Covenant of Silence on is asking God to help us understand more about ourselves, kind of how he sees us or what he may call us. And this time you had something happen for you about that. Would you like to share that with us on what you kind of heard from God?
Yeah. I had asked God what my name was, and I had heard helper because whenever someone asks me to do something, I say yes before even thinking about what the situation is. And recently I had gotten Student of the Month at my school for compassion, and I think that was because I helped whatever the job was.
Yeah, you just say yes before you even knew what it was.
Yeah.
And so how did that feel to have God kind of confirm that for you? How did that feel for you to have God kind of confirm that for you?
It made me feel good because it kind of made me know what I'm supposed to be like in a way.
Yeah, an aspect of what you're supposed to be like, right?
Yeah.
It may not be the whole thing, but at least that's a piece that God's revealed to you now, saying, this is a part of how I created you uniquely, is to show my glory as being a helper to others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Samuel, now, when you went out for your Covenant of Silence, if I remember right, as you told the story, you heard something a little different than maybe what you expected to hear. When you're asking God a little bit about kind of how he sees you or his name for you, do you mind sharing that?
Yes. Well, mine was actually all my life like Eli's. I thought I was going to be the helper. But when I went to my Covenant of Silence, I found that he was telling me that I was a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Because I battled so much in my life with abuse, being homeless, jobless.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me and told me that you've battled this far, let's battle some more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't it amazing how the enemy in the world can have labels? But that's definitely not the way that God sees you. That's not the same label he has, because in those situations that you talked about, I'm sure there are things that the enemy's thrown at you over time, but God kind of reset that and said, oh no, you are an amazing warrior. And one of the things I want to share real quickly, if you don't mind, with Robbie and I about this, is we were watching you before, I think that segment of you getting your name. We were out for the airsoft battle.
Oh my word, he was on my team.
Yeah.
And you talk about a warrior. If you're going to play airsoft and you can find Samuel wherever you can hunt him, the man is unbelievable. Going through the woods with two guns, shooting everybody inside. I was like, man, this dude is a warrior. And it was just obvious. And then when I heard him, it came up, after that he'd heard that from God. And it was just so clear that that's what he was. He just came to life when he was out there.
Yeah, the same thing for me. I wasn't playing because I was just having fun counting how many times you got shot, Robbie, but which I lost count. I couldn't even keep track. But I saw this flash just run across in the woods, and I couldn't figure out what it was, and it was Samuel. And man, he was flying. No one was going to catch him. Now, he was really sore the next day, but I was looking at it going, that guy is amazing. And that's before I knew any of the story about just how into that whole role of warrior that you were in. And then to have God come at some point in that weekend and say, see, that's how I made you. I made you to battle against those elements. I made you to battle against things that other people would maybe turn away from. And I can't even imagine how cool that must have been for you to hear that from God. When he's saying that, was there some little bit of a doubt in you initially?
At first there was.
Yeah.
But then further along through the weekend, it come natural.
Yeah. Well, the enemy comes right at that to say, oh, no, that can't be right. But then God says, oh, no, I'm going to prove it to you.
Yes, sir.
And then he does. I mean, he comes right after that. Now, Bill, did you have an opportunity to hear from God that weekend at boot camp as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, please go ahead and talk a little bit about what that looked like for you, because everybody's story of hearing from God's a little different. So what was yours?
Well, Robbie's kind of involved in that, somewhat. Well, actually a lot. Him and I were speaking. Well, I don't remember the depth of the conversation, but he may remember a little more than I did. But I had, even before the name thing had come up, I said, well, I've been a server for a long time. And then we had the little, covenant of silence, and it just hit me. I was like, I'm serving. And then I went to him. I was like, that's.
One of the cool things, Sam, is that a lot of times I get up earlier than a lot of folks, and so I'm in there, in the area where we do the talks, and I'm studying and reading the Word and whatever. It's like 5 a.m, and Bill walks in, and he starts cleaning the tables and stuff like he works there. And I'm like, man, dude, you're like a servant. and he said, that's funny. I've been serving all my life. And then when he came back later and told me that God had confirmed that for him, it's just, one of the joys of boot camp is getting a chance to hear from God some of the things that he sees in you.
Absolutely, and just the aspect of how we reflect God, how we reflect Christ to others. I mean, just think of all the acts, Bill, of Christ's service towards others, right? And how amazing and how just world-changing just the sheer service that he had, washing the feet of the disciples. The things that he did that just blew people's mind of that day was all acts out of love and out of service, and was a huge part of his mission here on earth. Which is pretty cool that you reflect a lot of that.
Well, before the boot camp, in the Transformers program, we have what they call the Giants. And I just finished up my first Giant, which is low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And God just kept telling me the whole weekend that just humble yourself to me, and I'll pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep doing what you're doing. I'll lift you up.
Yeah, it's amazing how God will come after your heart in the midst of that and break through some of those.
And he even humbled Bruce Almighty by the end of it.
He did. And so we'll go ahead and get to that clip. I think we have time to get it in. And on this clip, what's happened is Bruce has finally given in to the will of God. Well, he happens to do it right in the middle of a road and gets ran over by a truck. And next thing you know, he's appearing to God in God's presence. And here's how the conversation kind of plays out between them, as God's really telling him a little bit about how God sees him, and then also helps him understand a little bit more about himself.
Bruce, you have the divine spark. You have the gift for bringing joy and laughter to the world. I know, I created you. Quit bragging. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the spark. What do you want me to do? I want you to pray, son. Go ahead.
Lord,
feed the hungry and bring peace to all of mankind. How's that?
Great. If you want to be Miss America. Now, come on. What do you really care about?
Grace.
Grace. You want her back?
No. I want her to be happy. No matter what that means. I want her to find someone who'll treat her with all the love she deserved from me. I want her to meet someone who'll see her always as I do now. Through your eyes.
Now that's a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
It's good.
It's good. I'm gonna get right on it.
And it is good. We thank you for joining us today as we've been talking about this topic of hearing from God, and we just were able to touch a little bit on the surface. Bill, thank you for being on the show. Samuel, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Vinny, you've been greatly missed. We love you and are very glad to have you back, and hopefully we'll get to see you again hopefully soon. And come back and join us next week as we will discover what topic we're going to talk about together, because we haven't discussed that yet. But we will be talking about God's love, His grace, His mercy, and you too can hear from Him